When my son was in kindergarten, he created a game. He would gasp and fall to the ground. Sometimes he'd pretend to moan as he lay there, or he'd call for help dramatically in a feeble voice. Eventually, another child would notice him lying there on the playground and run over to check on him. My son would be ready with some wild story like he was a pilot whose plane had crashed, or he'd been gored by a dinosaur. Whatever the calamity was, it was always made worse when they would discover that he had twisted his ankle and he couldn't walk. Delighted by the ghastly story, the child that found him would start calling excitedly to the other children in the playground for help. And before long, my son would be surrounded by children trying to carry him or drag him to the hospital, which, of course, my son made sure was sufficiently far away to make the journey absurdly impossible or difficult. I was always amazed at the enthusiasm with which the children would respond to the call for help and how heroic they would be as they improvised their rescue. No measure was ever too much, and no idea was ever too outlandish if they thought there was any chance they could save his life. Occasionally, one child would take charge and order the others about, and the subordinates would happily comply. But usually, they would act together without any direction. It made for a lot of fun and busy afternoons. Thankfully, it was always just an imaginary injury. But isn't it remarkable that at 5 years of age, my son had instinctively figured out that vulnerability can be a gateway to community? I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed by everything that's going on in the world. Lately, as the pandemic drags on, I'm finding that my work as a medical interpreter has been more depleting than inspiring, even though I chose the profession specifically to be of service. Lately, I can't bear to watch or even listen to the news because I feel completely powerless. My health isn't helping things. In spite of getting the third vaccine, I was unable to attend Vanessa's installation, and I'm really bummed about it. In spite of the successful vote, the work we did to pass the 8th principle dredged up a lot of past trauma and left me with spiritual whiplash. And to top it off, my son went off to college. And while that's absolutely wonderful, his absence has left an ache in my mom heart. So basically, I'm lying on the ground, feeling guilty about lying on the ground, and I have no idea what comes next. So, let's play.